Hey guys, Coach Donnie Morrow here with the Morrow Group, eXp Realty, Memphis, Tennessee. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about passing the real estate exam. So stay tuned and let's chat real estate. So this just happened to me now. I've taken several real estate exams. Took my initial real estate exam to get my real estate license. I took my state broker for the state of Tennessee to get my broker's license. And then just about 4 weeks ago, I took my exam to take my Mississippi license as well. Proud to say that I was able to pass all those exams on the first try. So hopefully I have some good tips for you to help you do the same thing. A lot of people are surprised to hear that about 40% of people, I believe is the number, fail the test the first time around. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. Sometimes it's just as simple as we haven't been to school in a long time. We got to learn how to take those tests again, right? Especially if you're in your 40s or your 50s or whatever. It might have been 20 years, 30 years since you took a test at all. So completely understandable, but we'd like to help you avoid that because it does take you more time to get started. It does cost you money to pay for the test again, all that kind of stuff. So I just threw together a couple tips that maybe can help you out, and I'm just gonna hit them in no particular order. So I think it's important, if you can, take the class in person. I know it's a little less expensive to take it online. We've had plenty of people take it online. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. From what I see with the agents we're helping go through the class, a higher percentage pass on the first try by taking it in person, because typically those instructors are experienced real estate agents that tell you stories as you go throughout the class and help you to remember those things and remember those questions. When you see the question on the test, you might remember that, hey, this person told me the story, whatever the case might be, and help you get that question right. Another thing to keep in mind is just be committed. I think there's too many people that don't think the real estate test is what it is. They think they're just gonna breeze through it. Oh, it's multiple choice. Real estate is an easy job. All realtors do is unlock doors and fill in some blanks. They don't do anything. This test isn't that big of a deal. And then they don't put the time into it that they should. And they could have easily passed the test, but because they were overconfident, were not committed to put the time in and actually study, then they go fail the test and get surprised. Another great point is to stay on a time frame, especially if you're taking a school online. What I see is that sometimes people don't think it's going to be as hard as it is, so they blast through the coursework and they don't read it all, so then they go too fast and they just don't grasp the content, or they take too long, because let's admit, oftentimes we have a job and we have kids to take care of, spouses to take care of, other family commitments, and then we have to come home from doing all that and then try to study for the real estate test. And what happens is people will take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months to get through real estate school, and by the time they get done with it, they've forgotten the first half. So if you can keep it on a reasonable timeline, you got to decide what's best for you, but maybe somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks is probably the sweet spot there for the right amount of time. If it takes you a lot longer than 12 weeks, you're probably taking too long. If it takes you a lot less than 6 weeks, unless you're that special person, you're probably going too fast. I have heard of people doing it in 2 weeks, but I'm not saying I encourage that, okay? Another great tip is build a broker relationship. Start looking for brokers early. I know something we do is offer study groups and that kind of stuff, and people are able to ask us questions. I've even had people text me their math problems so I can tell them how to work their math problems, that kind of stuff. I won't say I'm an expert at all of it, but I have passed the test 3 times on the first try, and I've been able to help some people understand some of that stuff, okay? Use third-party study sites. There's a couple in particular that I'm pretty familiar with, and I think they're both great. nightbeforetheexam.com and prepagent.com. Yes, both of them cost you a little bit of money, $50, $60, $70. I do know we have a discount link for one of those. If you want to reach out to me, I do have a link that I can share to save you a little bit of money on it. But those study sites I have found invaluable in helping me pass the test, and here's why. I'm a high D. I don't like to sit there and read everything in that book, but I can do practice tests for 10 or 15 minutes at a time quite a few times throughout the day. So instead of sitting down and trying to read an hour or 2 hours worth of material and remember it all, I would much rather plug in 20 practice questions, take those questions, take a break for an hour, plug in 20 more, take a break for an hour, and do that 4 or 5 times through the day. and answer 100 questions a day, and I find that to be much, much better for me and how I like to study. If you are a reader and you want to study, I recommend you break it down into small batches. Don't try to study for 2 hours straight. Break it down into small parts, because you're going to be able to remember that more thoroughly by not trying to remember too much at one time. And then this is a tip, last one, that a lot of people may not think of. Anytime you sign up for a real estate test, you're typically going to get what they call a test taker's bulletin or something to that effect from PSI or whatever company is administering the test. And that bulletin will give you tips and clues about the test. It will tell you what to expect when you go in there, possibly have a practice test attached to it, give you some tips for the night before about getting some rest, that kind of stuff, as well as the other test taking tips you can find online, such as if you're going to do multiple choice, if you don't know the answer, can you eliminate the 2 answers that you know don't make any sense, and that way you have a 50% chance of answering correctly, that kind of stuff. I find that those bulletins and those little tips for most people, especially if it's been a long time since you had to take multiple choice tests, could really help a lot of people probably gain several points on their real estate exam when they go in there, because you might run into a couple of those questions that you're like, I don't remember seeing this at all, but I remember reading that tip and I know that these 2 answers are both wrong, so now I got a 50-50 chance of answering right by guessing one of the other 2. So just those little things like that can really make a big difference. If you've got any awesome tips to help other people who are taking the real estate exam, throw them down there in the comments. We all want to help each other out here. I'd love to see what all tips you guys have to help other people out. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of the content, and like the video so that other people get to see it as well.